Good evening, everyone, and Happy New Year. It is, you're at a City Council meeting, January 2nd, 2018. We'll start by a roll call and determination of quorum, please.
Scott. Drew. Nordstrom. Modrick. Solomon. Lewis. Armstrong. Laurenti. Drury. Roberts. We have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. And now we'll have our invocation by Julie Norwood of Big Life Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Father, we come before you tonight and we're so grateful for the opportunity to have this temporary assignment called life. God, as we gather together in this room tonight to discuss the affairs of the city and the future of its welfare of every person from youngest to oldest, we pray, Father God, that your Spirit would lead and guide and direct and manage. We thank you, Father, that this city is known in all of the land for a great city, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to serve in such a public manner. We pray your blessings upon those who do serve and those that will speak tonight. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, everyone. Now, the adoption of the agenda. This is a time when the council can adopt the agenda as printed, or they can make an alteration to it. Can I have a motion?
I move to.
Motion to adopt by Solomon, second by Drew. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries. Now on to general public comment. We have one speaker request form, Julian Navarro.
Good evening and Happy New Year, everybody. I just have a few things that I would like to mention. If there's a way that City Council would be able to make a trauma recovery program for people that are out on the streets. Another thing that I was thinking is back home we have anybody that has a warrant, they get a reward if someone turns them in. And I think that that would help people to get off the street as well as bringing people into the jail system, not as a way of making money off of them, but it's going to let them know that they can't mess up. And that's what they do back home. And then another thing I want to say is thank you for considering the emergency shelter. That's going to be on Thursday, and y'all have a good evening.
Thank you, Julian. Now to non-public hearing items 1 through 39. For the public comment, open public comment 1 through 33. There are no requests for those items. So on to consent items 1 through 33. Would the council like to pass all of these items at once or pull some off for separate consideration? Okay, motion by Drew and a second Solomon to pass the consent items 1 through 33. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Non-consent items, items 34 through 39. We'll open public comment on those items. We have a couple of speaker request forms, one from Kyle Treelor on 37 and 38.
Good evening. Happy New Year. If it's all right, I'll address the two items together. They're fairly well related. All right. I'm here to talk about two exceptions that were submitted to the City of Rapid City for a subdivision, North Valley Park, which is just north of Menards near the Rushmore Crossing shopping center. The exception was to allow a connection to East North Street. Let's see if I can't get this thing figured out here. You can see that right here. So the subdivision itself is a 50-acre subdivision that runs to the east of this, with a road that continues on through, it ties to the adjoining property to the east and south. A couple things to note about this connection is one, that it exists across from an existing road right-of-way. Therefore, we're able to minimize connections onto North Street. Second, as noted in the exception report prepared by city staff, we have a future collector street identified about 450 feet away. That is within the 250 feet allowed by the infrastructure design criteria manual. So we're meeting the basic design guidelines. We're meeting the spacing by having 250 feet over 250 feet, and we're tying into an area where we already have existing right-of-way. I'll spend just a couple minutes too talking about the existing collector street, because that tends to relate to this whole discussion. So, let's see if I can't. All right, so here we have Menards, which is located right here. We have Camden Drive, which stubs into East North Street. And then we have thank you. We have a proposed collector that bisects this already existing lot. You can see right here, this is the Menard sign. Now, this is important for a couple reasons. Number one, the proposed collector has grade issues. Here's Menards again. We have an already graded lot with an over 20% grade to get to the top of this hill, so it's just simply not a buildable street where it is. Second, it's located within an existing lot that's already platted, which also has consequences when it comes to the construction of the street in the future. And here's just kind of a quick picture that I snapped of it earlier today, just to kind of further illustrate, where this proposed collector is supposed to go. We've got this nice graded lot. We've got a 20% slope that comes up to this high plateau. And we've got the sign running right through the middle of this. It's just not conducive to a collector street. It's really not buildable where it is, whereas the connection that we're proposing with this development is we've got a nice 4 to 5 degree slope to get back into this property. So we're asking that we be allowed to make that connection to North Street. We have had conversations with the Menards folks in which they are basically agreeing that it doesn't make sense to build the road through their platted lot. Also, recently, an exception was granted by Menards in the recent platting of one of their lots to not construct that intersection onto East North Street. So, this right here, an exception was granted to not construct that portion of the street. So we're asking to be able to construct a new street that runs like this, connects to North Street, and then build this back in and tie into the properties to the south. It's generally speaking, a better location for this major street. It helps connect the property to the south and to the east, and it doesn't have the limitations that the current street has. If you have any questions, I'll be available. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Kyle. And also on item number 39, James Howell.
Good evening.
Howell, just so you know, you have 3 minutes. If you watch this light up here, try to keep it within there. It'd be
Okay.
great.
Good evening. The reason why I'm here tonight is to speak with you guys. I put in for a security license, for renewal of my security license, and once I renewed that, I ended up getting into some trouble. I'm asking you guys to reconsider the recommendation for denial on the grounds that I am the main financial provider for 3 children, soon to be 4, 2 of which I did not father, but I do provide for them solely. I was just asking because that's my only employment, and if I can't get the security license, I was asking that if I can have it for at least a month or 2 months, so that way I can be able to find other employment and not be completely without income. And that's all I really wanted to say to you guys.
Okay, thank you. And
Thank you.
in a few minutes, when we take up this item, some of the council members may have comments or questions for you.
Okay.
Okay, and that'll close the public comment on items 34 through 39. And on to ordinances. Item number 34. Second reading, ordinance 6213, an ordinance amending chapter 5.36 of the Rapid City Municipal Code relating to pawnbrokers, secondhand dealers, and gems and precious metals dealers. Committee recommendation is to approve. Motion to approve by Lewis, second by Laurenti. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Community Development Department items starting at 35. Can we go to Darla Drew to have these read, please?
Okay. Item 35, appeal of the denial for alterations to the historic structure located at 430 Main Street pursuant to SDCL-19A-11.1 and RCMC 17.54.080. And the recommendation is to acknowledge withdrawal per applicant's request.
Motion to acknowledge by Laurenti and a second by Nordstrom. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries.
Okay.
Public Works items, Darla Drew.
All right, thank you. Item 36, appeal of denied exception request by Prairie Valley Development Company, LLC, to waive the requirement to construct a 12-inch diameter water main in Anderson Road. The item was continued from December 18th. And once again, the applicant's request is to withdraw the exception. So I guess someone could make a motion.
Motion to acknowledge by Lewis and second by Nordstrom. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 37, please.
37, appeal of denied exception request from KTM Design Solutions on behalf of BH Capital 4 LLC to allow street construction of North Valley Drive and East North Street. Recommendation sent to council without recommendation, so this is an open field.
Okay, we'll go to Lisa Modrick.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to follow up, if I can, with Mr. Dale Tack.
Yes.
Thank you. Dale, at committee, we had some discussion about this and bringing together some communication of some other facts that might be available. Did that happen, and where are we at on that?
Yes, that's true. Thanks, Mayor and Alderwoman Modrick. We did receive a very preliminary draft traffic impact study from the applicant. City staff has reviewed it, and it does not contain enough data for us to even make a recommendation. So it's purely conceptual in nature, and I would not hazard to provide a recommendation based on what they provided.
Okay. May I send another question over to Mr. Traylor?
Please do.
Kyle? Hi. Thank you again for bringing us up to date on the presentation of this piece. And you had also shown a piece from the representative, it looked like it was real estate representative from Menards, and that piece shared that they don't see what is in the proposal of having a street go through there as part of their plan. Is that right, or do you have anything more to add on that?
That's correct. We've been meeting with the Menards folks here for quite some time. We've been working on this for a little over 5 months since the subdivision plan was submitted and reviewed. And you know, they're in concurrence that it doesn't make sense for them or for us to have that street that runs through and bisects their existing platted lot. And second, that it's just not constructible with the way that the grades lie right now to the back of their lot.
So if this change, if the council went forward with this and changed the exception in order to allow that road, that would then move it from an industrial to a collector, and that is the direction you'd like it to go in as well for the development out there along that property?
We're requesting right now to make the connection. We've already offered up to build the street as a collector level street, which means we're going to provide additional right-of-way, some additional street width. So basically, it's going to be there as a collector street. If it becomes, it's determined that that collector street is appropriate, it'll be there and ready for that designation.
And I think that's important because item number 38 allows the potential landscaping of the median as well, and by a collector, it's invited to do the landscaping. So if you're designing it in a collector, the two make sense. It makes sense to me. I hope that we'll see a motion that will go forward to allow that change. It is currently in pencil form to go across Menard's lot with the topographical mound that is there. I think we can all see the Menard sign from just about anywhere in Rapid City. And does that really make sense? No. But does your proposition make sense? Absolutely. So I hope that we'll go forward with that, and we'll see where the discussion goes. But thanks for those two answers, and I also appreciate Dale's response too on the traffic study. With minute 41, do you have anything to add on the traffic study statement?
Only that we hired Fulsberg, Holt, and Oldevig out of Denver to start the traffic study for us. They performed the traffic counts, and they've written up the draft form of this. All of this information has been shared with city staff, who has also recently approved an RFP for a regional study of this area. So we got what we could, as we could.
Okay, thank you.
Chad Lewis.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the appeal.
Okay, motion by Lewis and a second by Modrick to approve the appeal, to allow the connection. Richie Nordstrom.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just a little uncomfortable, Kyle, just to give you a heads up. I'm just a little uncomfortable moving forward on this without the full impact study being completed. Once I get that total completion of that impact, I'm going to agree with you then, but at this point, without all the information coming forward, I'd just like to wait until. So if there's a no vote coming on this, that's the only reason I'm voting no on this, is just I want to see the full traffic impact on it. Okay, thank you. I yield.
John Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. May I ask the Public Works Director a question, please?
Do.
Dale, on the proposed route through the Menards lot, does that have the easements already in place?
No, it does not.
So we as a city would have to buy those easements to get across that property?
If the city were to build the road, yes. If a developer were to do it, or if Menards were to do it in the future, they would be required to dedicate that.
Which we're probably pretty sure they're not going to. But if, I'm just curious because I've seen this happen a few times on the city council where we have our future road map or plan, and we really have some very poor planning. I mean, as far as topography and where the roads are going to go and how they're going to go and what it's going to cost. And if you don't mind, Mr. Mayor, can I ask Mr. Talor a question too?
Sure.
So, Kyle, Mr. Nordstrom was worried about the impact study out there. But it really isn't going to make much difference if you do an impact study on that road or the road you're proposing, correct?
That's correct. We're looking at, we have one road that we don't feel is buildable. It's located within a platted lot. As you mentioned, there's no mechanism to get that lot or that road built through their lot, and then second, it's just not constructible. Where we are proposing to build this, it's regardless is, we meet the setbacks and the distances in the infrastructure design criteria manual. We're We're proposing it to meet with a right-of-way that lines up across East North Street, so we feel like we picked the best spot, and absolutely that's where it needs to go.
And also, you'll be giving the city the right-of-way, so they won't be purchasing it, correct?
Correct. And we will be building the road as well.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Jason Solomon. Oh, never mind. Anybody else?
Mayor?
Richie Nordstrom?
Thank you, Mayor. The only concern I have is just on this traffic impact study is, will it need to be signalized? What kind of signalization will it take? Because we don't know exactly what the traffic impact study is taking place on that. And without that information, I'm not comfortable with moving forward on this right now. I like the concept, what they're proposing, but without the full traffic and study, we just don't know what we need to put in there for the intersections. That's my major concern. Thank you.
Steve Laurenti.
Thank you, Mayor. If I may, I'd like to ask a Dale Tech question on this, if I could, please.
Please do.
Thank you. Mr. Tech, as I read through this, my main concern coming out of it is that it gets treated as a collector for the streets that it's connecting to, and this is through an industrial park. So we're dealing with, I assume we're going to be dealing with trucks, larger trucks, delivery trucks, semis at some point. I don't know what's all going to develop in the industrial part of it, but my question to you is, where is staff's main concerns here? Because I don't necessarily think that this probably is, from a topography standpoint, seems to be a little more feasible for a connector or a collector road there, but if I wanted to get your opinion on that.
Certainly. Staff's concern isn't necessarily the location of a collector, be it in the existing location or the proposed location. It is what the impact to North Street is going to be due to that connection. We don't have any data to discuss whether or not that's a good idea. If it's a bad idea, I think we all have driven up and down East North Street at heavy traffic times, and if we introduce an intersection there that compromises the level of service of that arterial road, that's not a good thing for the community. That's staff's main concern.
Thank you. And I hesitate to support this at this point without knowing all of the data as well, especially when we're talking about industrial traffic going to East North Street. I really think we should wait to get all of the information as a council before we just move forward with this, especially since we're talking about, and this is my biggest concern, is it introducing that type of industrial traffic to East North Street, which we all know is a very busy street already. It's going to get slowed down by this industrial traffic and the trucks and those types of things that are going to be involved with an industrial park. And I honestly believe we need to wait, get all of the information before we move forward. I think we will regret this if we approve this today. I yield.
Lisa Modrick.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't see a regret on this at all. I believe we have, is it North Creek Drive that also runs parallel with East North Street as well, where it goes along Menards? And so we've got two roads, actually, which is nice. Usually we just have one that we're dealing with that we need the impact study on. It's almost like having a service road on the side. And it is currently having some use on it, and it goes all the way down to Eglin, I want to say. So we've got some movement already that we didn't have to say, let's put this, we can't put this in until we get this done. That part's already been done. So to me, this is the right time to do it. As you can see by a lot of their notes, they've been waiting to get to this point for quite some time. I don't see that we need to hold this up. Let's get the development going. They want to take the cost on their own, and let's bring it to Rapid City. Let's get her done. Thank you.
John Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Talor, can I speak to you just for a second again? I think you're already anticipating there's going to be a stoplight there, I would think, and I have to commend Alderwoman Modrick for knowing my neighborhood so well up there. Because, you know, when you do come out of this, you can go down Creek Drive there on Eglin, and you can go all the way over to Elkvale, So there's more than one exit out of there without coming directly onto East North Street. But even if you come onto East North Street because of the truck traffic and the truck bypass and the way that the traffic flows, more than likely they're going down to I-90. And if you want to talk about a real traffic issue out there, we should talk about England over at Rushmore Crossing, where we as a council, years ago, not us personally, dropped the ball and didn't put in 5 lanes. But anyway, so you're anticipating a light out there, correct?
Right now, it would make sense that there'll be a light there in the future, and I say that because this is the natural extension of where we've got this proposed. Let me grab an exhibit real quick. I want to show.
Thank you very much.
So what we're proposing is not only will this collector run and serve the properties to the south, but it will also tie directly into North Valley Drive. So what we're going to have.
So let me ask you real quick. So you also will have another exit out onto Highway 44, correct? Eventually.
Eventually. So this is. So here's where we're proposing to put this level street in. Well, we're going to build it to here and then tie it down, and then we'll have, in essence, a complete north-south collection road that's going to run and tie into North Street. Whereas right now, the current plan that runs through the hill comes in, and we have a T intersection that ties back into here. So we got a discontinuous street section, the way this is set in the street plan already, whereas we're proposing to provide one continuous, not easily graded, but level road that can be, traveled from north to south in Rapid City.
And we know because of the topography on that other road, not only coming over the hill by Menards, but also on the other end, on the south end, we have some terrible issues with topography down there too.
Correct.
So, anyway, thank you very much, Mr. Delore.
You didn't speak yet. Jason Solomon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Kyle, if you don't mind coming back up. I love that you're going to develop this area. I want to see it happen. Here's a question for you. Why wouldn't we wait until you had the traffic impact study completed before you would ask the council to approve?
I think the main reason is just the timing. We've had this on hold basically for 5 months now since our submittal in August. We've been working through these issues. Since then, we've had 2 commitments on lots already back out on us. We're ready to get this thing moving, and there's really there's 2 options at this point. One, we move forward with the plan that we have. We provide that continuous street. We move this forward. We give this north-south collector road so that everything can tie in and be built. Or we look at simply creating a couple lots that tie off of North Street, and then we lose that access through this property. So we're at a point where we have to move forward with something on this property. We can't continue to sit on it. It's just a matter of do we provide this connection through these properties into the south, or do we build a cul-de-sac that can't be accessed? We can't make these road connections into the future.
And in looking at this, is it safe to say that by providing this access that it might actually relieve some pressure at Campbell and East North Street, where a lot of the backup tends to happen?
Yeah,
people
absolutely.
cutting across over there.
As this whole connector, as this whole area develops out, that's exactly. The more north-south streets you have, the more options for people to go from. Basically with East and North Street, you'd be creating a collector run that would take all the traffic from the valley and give them a secondary route up to Rushmore Crossing, preventing everybody from either going up Oakville or coming around and hitting the bad intersection you just mentioned.
Okay. I'm going to direct a question at Public Works Director, if I could.
Yeah.
So Dale, taking this into consideration, just to educate all of us, do we require traffic impact studies on collector streets like this on every time?
The reason the traffic impact study is necessary for this is due to the sensitive nature of North Street and the traffic there, as well as moving of a collector on our major street plan. The applicant had an opportunity to take this through Planning Commission, which is the correct board, if you will, to see any comprehensive plan amendments. They chose not to do that. If they have concurrence with all the affected property owners, we can make an administrative change. That's why they've been communicating with Menards, and the city's been communicating with Menards. Menards has said it seems like a good idea, yet they have not come out and said, we approve of this, go ahead and do it. So that's a distinction that needs to be made. I understand the applicant's ready to go and wants this to happen. However, either the Planning Commission needs to hear the status or the realignment of the major street plan, or we need some sort of data to be able to back that up.
Okay. One thing you showed up here, and we saw it in our committee level, was the emails, I think, going back to October and sharing the information that they had, and they received no response, though, from the Public Works Department. Do you want to, it seemed like there might have been some lack of communication that might have slowed this whole thing down, where the sharing could happen much sooner.
The only sharing that is necessary is the communication with Menards, and we've been in contact with them. The applicant's been in contact with them. We can't force Menards to take a position.
Right.
And that's unfortunately where this situation is at.
But couldn't we as a staff have communicated back to the applicant that we received their information, that we're reviewing, there was collaboration between the applicant and the staff?
The applicant has been collaborating with Menards. We've been a third party, if you will.
Okay.
So there is no response required from the city for that.
So but regarding the traffic study and whatever information they shared, which you said was not complete.
Correct. The date on the traffic study that we received, I believe, is November 10th. We received it last Wednesday, and it appears to be incomplete to us.
Okay. All right. Hey, Kyle, I got 20 seconds. Can you talk a little bit about the timing of this and not going through the Planning Commission, but instead coming to the council directly?
Sure. We've had, just like Dale said, we've had several meetings with city staff. We've had discussions with Menards. That process is moving forward. Like you said, everybody has agreed that it's a good idea. It's just the fact that there's timing. One, Menards is a large corporation. Getting them to agree to anything is a little bit, not necessarily agree, but to actually get them to get the papers in front of the right people to sign takes time. And just generally speaking, that's kind of where we're at.
Okay, I'm out of time for now. Thank you.
Darla Drew.
Thank you. I move to approve with stipulations, and the stipulation being that a traffic study be completed. Can I do that? Substitute motion?
A substitute motion for approval contingent upon the
Traffic
positive...
study being complete. Complete enough for Dale.
Complete.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just trying to word this out so that we know what we're talking about. So completed to Public Works satisfaction?
A complete traffic study doesn't necessarily mean it'll be a good traffic study. They can complete all the work, and it may show that that's not a good place for an intersection.
Okay, I'll just retract my motion then. I've got a couple of questions for Mr. Treelor, please. Okay, the million-dollar question here. Is this road paid for by you guys?
Yes,
Totally paid for. And you don't have to get easements because you own the property?
that's correct.
It'll be done sooner because of all these impediments are out of the way?
Absolutely.
And you'll be able to develop an area for industrial development in a very good place in Rapid City where I think it's appropriate?
Yes.
That's a win-win-win for me, so thank you. I'm going to vote in favor of this.
Okay, I have a question for the Public Works Director. If this is approved tonight and the traffic impact study comes back with problems, is there a way to, how do we get any road improvements that may have to occur, say, to East North Street or anything like that? Is there a stop in the process where something has to be approved, or is it just done?
I believe it's just done tonight. If you approve the item, there's no going back, so.
Okay, thank you. All right, so motion on the floor is for approval, correct? Okay, all in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Roll call, please.
Drew? Nordstrom? Modrick? Solomon? Lewis? Armstrong? Laurenti? Roberts? Vote passes 6-2.
Okay, thank you. Next item, please, 38.
Item 38, appeal of denied exception request from KTM Design Solutions on behalf of BH Capital 4 LLC to allow landscaped median on an industrial classification roadway, proposed North Valley Drive, and I would like to recommend approval. I move to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion to approve by Drew and second by Modrick. And we'll go to Lisa Modrick.
Thank you, Mayor. With this being a part of the collector design, which is a really good design, this brings a lot of benefit to the city of Rapid City. It's in the right direction that we're headed in. It's part of the gateway or the entranceway from the east to the west or the west to the east. I compliment the fact that one of the solutions that they want to make on this design is to do a median, do some landscaping, make that classification roadway a roadway that will entice others to come, and perhaps other developments, whether it's industrial or it's commercial, may also want to put the investment in to do the same. So this just makes this a great plan, and it's something that I hope we see happens from this point forward. I think it's really a great start to make this a direction or a place that others will want to come and build in. It's a great economic direction for design. So I absolutely can support this motion, and I hope that we see the two come together and that we're driving on the new road and passing by it in a year and a half or so. Thank you.
Jed Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a question for the applicant, if I could, please.
Yes, please.
So could you please explain to me why you want a landscaped medium as opposed to just a generic median, excuse me?
Well, the visual effect, more than anything. We've got, the median's going to serve a couple purposes. One, it's going to help limit traffic movements.
No, I understand the purpose of the median itself. I just don't understand why it needs to be because who will be taking care of that median?
It would be dedicated to the city.
Okay, so I'm just thinking of ongoing costs. I understand you want to be more aesthetically pleasing, but I look at our biggest gateway to Rapid City right now is 8th Street, which was just, Rushmore Road, excuse me, which was just redone. I think it looks quite nice, and I just thinking out loud that maybe if we, would you have an objection if I was to, or someone was to make a motion to make it just a regular median? Is that, I know you want a nice looking one. I'm thinking ongoing maintenance, you know, of costs for the city and hassle.
I think that as long as it, you know, we can do some, maybe like a raised decorative median, like
Sure.
the stamped concrete or something like that, but
Well, I
something,
don't care about what, I'm just thinking ongoing maintenance. It's going to be, you know, I know our Parks and Rec crew and mowing crew is pretty overtaxed as it is, and I just was thinking out loud on this. I don't know my fellow council members have any thoughts to that, so thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, motion on the floor is for approval of item 38. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Those opposed? Solomon, Laurenti, anyone else? Okay. Passes 6-2. Now on to item 39 under appeals. Appeal of denied security license for James Howell. And we'll open the floor. Darla Drew.
I have a question for Mr. Howell, if I could, please.
Okay.
Hello. Could you state your name, please, again?
My name is James Howell.
When you talked to us before, you said you were in some type of trouble. That would probably help me decide whether we're going to go with this or not. What kind of trouble were you in?
I was in possession of a controlled substance. That substance was hash. When I got pulled over, I was honest with the officers. I gave it to them. I didn't resist or anything like that. I told them that I had it. They found it. I was taken to jail. I bonded out, and then I was sentenced on the 11th of last month, of December, to 2 years of probation, and I'm using my suspended imposition, as this is the first time that I've been arrested as an adult.
All right, that's what I need to know. Thank you.
John Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You might want to stay there, but I have a question for the chief, because I was looking through this, and you had said on your statement that you were going to describe his past history.
Correct.
Is that correct?
And he summarized it very well. He was recently convicted of a felony crime, possession of a controlled substance, and he previously was a licensed security officer at the time of the offense, but our current process requires all licensees to reapply every 2 years so that we can do an updated background check, and that's kind of what triggered this action, is that when we did that updated background check, we became aware of the recent arrest and the pending conviction at the time that he reapplied, and he has since been convicted.
Okay. And I didn't realize that was a felony, for hashish.
It
Is
is.
marijuana a felony too? I'm just curious.
It is not.
Okay.
Marijuana is going to depend on the amount.
The amount, okay,
Correct.
okay. I'm not having that much trouble with this, because I think marijuana is something that within 10 years is going to be legal, so unfortunately, or maybe not unfortunately, I don't know, it's nothing that I really want to have anything to do with, but it's just the way that it's going. And unfortunately, my 15 years of working in the Pennington County Jail, I've seen a lot of people come and go over some pretty minimal offenses. You know, I give you credit for standing in front of us and taking responsibility for your actions. You know, I really am not sure how I'm going to vote on this one. I know that everybody deserves a second chance. And I do know that if, you know, a year from now we give you this opportunity and you screw up, that's on us. But if you don't, then we gave you the opportunity to make yourself a better person. And I think that's the way I'm swaying and hoping that you have learned a lesson from this. So anyway, thank you.
Steve Laurenti.
Move to deny the appeal.
Okay, motion to deny with a second by Modrick. Jason Solomon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Question for the police chief, please.
Yes.
Chief, if this is denied this evening, how long before he can reapply? Or if he can...
There isn't a specific timeline in ordinance, but my recommendation would be that he complete his 2-year probationary period, and with my discussion with him, he indicated that if he has perfect or exceptional behavior during that time, that it would actually potentially be cut in half, so it would be a year. So my recommendation would be that if he were to complete his probationary sentence for the current charges and have no other negative contacts in that time, that I would be in a position that I would make a recommendation that he be licensed at that time.
Okay. And Mr. Howell, I'm going to support the denial, but, you know, I do encourage you, there's other lines of work other than security for now. Doesn't mean down the road you can't do what you're passionate about. We've all had to do things we didn't prefer in order to get to where we need to be. And I agree with Mr. Roberts. Everybody does deserve a second chance, and you have one. You know, you can still provide for your family. You can still be a force for good in our community. And I would just encourage you, since I know it's urgent, you know, do something and then come back around. Like the chief said, he kind of laid out a path for you to get back into this line of work we're all rooting for you. We're all pulling for you. We all make mistakes. Everybody up here has made mistakes too. None of us are better than the other, but I have to go along with the chief's recommendation on this in order to keep the integrity of the security program. But I encourage you to do your best, come back around based on the timeline that he gave, and if that's your plan for life, to do it that way. But I'm going to support the motion on the floor. Thank you. Best of luck to you, okay?
Okay, motion on the floor is for denial of the license. All in favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Aye. Okay, motion passes 6-2 again.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. Public hearing items 40 through 41. There are no speaker requests on those items. We'll go right to 40 under assessment rolls. Approve resolution number 2017-091B as in boy, a resolution levying assessment for cleanup of miscellaneous property. Motion by Nordstrom, second by Drew for approval. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries. 41, non-consent public hearing items. Second reading, ordinance 6212, an ordinance amending section 17.06 of chapter 17 of the Rapid City Municipal Code. A request by City of Rapid City for a rezoning from no-use district to general agricultural district for property generally described as being located southwest of East Highway 44, east of South Valley Drive. Committee recommendation was for approval.
So moved.
Motion by Modrick and a second by Nordstrom for approval. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 42, the bill list, and we'll go to Finance Officer Pauline Sumption.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There are no additions to the bill list that is attached, so the total is still $3,802,987.29.
Motion to approve by Solomon and Laurenti, and a second by Roberts. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Motion to adjourn, please. Second. By Armstrong, second by Solomon. All in favor say aye. Aye. We're adjourned. Thank you.